right?
Steve's trying to get us a line.
Oh, we got, okay.
Businesses being out there, and the only thing there is
I'm ready whenever you are. No, good.
and they always back.
On this one, Jerome. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Okay, he gave you that also?
Based on the things that we have, especially the three-phase line.
Good evening, everybody. It's just a typical crowd right now, but our budget hearing is in session now with that gavel, and I know Clarissa started to go over some of the citizens' budget, which we do the citizen budget because, again, the binder's a thick, nearly 100-page, maybe over 100-page document, so with a lot of nuances and details in it. The citizens' budget kind of brings out those key things. So she went over some of that last week, which is what we typically do for the budget hearing. So I don't know if you have any interest in going over anything else, or do we just want to start with questions?
I could just remind Mr. Mayor, I could just remind everyone that the total budget, of course, is $112,421,878. The general fund is a little bit over $23 million. Proprietary fund, which is our utility fund, is $44.4 million, and then our special funds is $44.9 million. But I am definitely open to questions, and we can expound on particular departments or, not departments, I'm sorry, funds as needed.
I just want to say, we received the email, as I'm sure all of you have received, from one of the council members. Their concern was about funding for the planning and zoning and public works department. More funding into that department to be utilized for, the employees, and also equipment to work for the community, doing things in the community that they need to do throughout the community. Have you looked at, has that been discussed with you to bring that funding up for those departments?
Well, we did meet with both of the department heads, and based on what was presented, what was pretty much honored. I don't think that we had any major projects or overall increases that were denied. I know one thing that we talked about specifically was the grass cutting and the demolition. There is $50,000 in for demolition, and we also have a grant of $171,000 that we're looking to do some major demolitions with. So I think that was one thing that was discussed, particularly as far as planning and zone, I'm sorry, not planning and zoning, public works. They didn't present anything of a large increase. Of course, every year they look for equipment that could be rehabbed or purchased new. I think we opted to just do some maintenance and rehab equipment instead of purchasing it outright new. But other than that, there was no major, and correct me if I'm wrong, but no major projects or purchases that were denied within the budget for those particular two departments.
Yeah, well, one of the councils just expressed a concern about it. I don't know if the directors are approached with that concern in mind or not. Sometimes they don't say anything, and the council members just realize or recognize the need. Some things are not getting done or need to be done because residents reach out to them, and then they're told, well, the equipment's not working, this is down, we don't have this, and so maybe that's what happened, I don't know.
Well, I think in the email, it was more so not that they didn't have adequate funding, but if there were somewhere that you were going to cut funding or not honor a particular thing that was being discussed, then more money could be moved there. I don't think that the note was to say that what we put in the budget right now was not sufficient. I think it was more or less, if it was money available, could we look to put it there? Yes, ma'am.
That was the concern.
Yes, ma'am.
And another concern was brought up by some of the councils about the funding for a firm to access bringing businesses into Natchitoches, and the amount that was allocated, being allocated for this, over $227,000, where could we possibly look at bringing in another firm or agency that would be beneficial and do the same thing? Because we do have NETA, as they brought out the fact that we do have NETA, that could be used, and that the monies maybe decrease some and find another firm that could do the same thing and work along with NETA and
Well,
address those issues
I'm
of the
sorry.
city for
I'm so
businesses. Go ahead,
And just let
I'm
me,
sorry.
can I go ahead?
Oh, you can go ahead.
And I
I'm sorry.
think I was able to respond today to that email that Eddie sent on Thursday. We just, if you do just a little kind of research, a Google search, I say a little Google search, not too much work, or even something in chat for this type of firm, which, you know, aids municipalities in looking for industry expansion. I kind of likened it today. What I was thinking about is it would, because you brought up NETA, and I think Eddie brought up NETA, it would work hand in hand with NETA. In fact, that's what a lot of your big firms do. They work locally with your local EDO, Economic Development Organization. It seems like they prefer to do that more so than the municipality, but I do want to be in the loop on what's happening, what's going on.
We do
So-
need jobs.
Yeah, I kind of just likened it to, it's just adding another play to the playbook as we think about football. You still do play action, you still have the read option, you still have a running back dive, but this just would be another play in the playbook to get us more aggressive on a national level, looking for expansion. Now, obviously, beyond all of our control, losing international paper was a big gut punch to not only the city, to the parish, to the school board, to the sheriff's office, but we're over the city. And, you know, so I think that's a little separate conversation there. But what I kind of articulated in the letter, so you, in the email, you know, low end could be 100,000, as high as 400. We don't even have 400 in the budget. But when you don't RFP something before you have the money, and you don't know who's gonna, see, we're kind of in that situation. All of the money won't be used. The 227?
Yes, sir.
All of it
Yes,
won't
sir.
be used for that. But again, we had to put some number there and give us some room so that we do get if we get firms that are gonna be interested in doing this type of work for the city, we want to at least have a little flexibility where we could choose the best one, so forth, so on. But again, I don't think all of that are gonna be used. It may be 80,000, 90,000,
That's
kind of
great.
as I articulated in the email. But in addition to what NETA is doing, I just think that we need, we're at a point where 400 plus jobs from IP, technically in the parish, but I think everybody understands how that impacts the city. Coincidentally, I was sitting at the Parklet on Friday, and a lady, I don't know, she just came to talk to me, just came to talk about some rent issue, but she talked about how really bad the housing market is now. And it's tied to the situation she cited to me is that, folks, you gotta uproot your family if you lose a job like that. You uproot your family. They bought a house where they moved to. They can't sell this one here because there's not as much demand now, because when you lose that type of industry, it just kind of affects you. So again, it does have a trickle-down effect. We're thankful that we do have some other industry in Natchitoches Parish. We're fortunate in that way, but certainly we need to be aggressive in adding back those jobs. And look, I know I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I do know the shots we don't shoot, we never have a chance to make. If we don't swing, there won't be any opportunity. I understand there are a few projects happening in terms of expansion projects throughout the country per year, and everybody wants them. So, but I just think we have to put ourselves in a more competitive position. And to the whole point of improving our sites, I don't disagree with that. We were able to get an earmarked $2 million. Now, that's mainly for Ruta Gabriel, but that's a start of, if you look at the Natchitoches Next Master Plan, that's a start of where we kind of wanted the new sites we want to develop to give us more land, as you referenced on Sonny Evans' site, on Sonny Evans' property. We do have I think about a $7 million ask, Shauna, is that about $7 million to the state? Have about a $7 million. And that's really, so the $2 million, just some startup money for it, and then that $7 million is really going to help us get that site. Well, the 7 is going to be, you know, certain improvements. Nick Verrett is really the guru on this because he kind of put it together. Shauna, do you remember some of the things we said we want to kind of do? I don't know if it's utilities or if it's just road infrastructure that we're trying to do.
It's just road.
But, I mean, design is in there. It's got to be more than just street improvements or something like that. I think it's got to be.
When do we hear on that, if we get it or not? Do y'all know?
You typically hear when is session over, about the end of session.
Yeah.
When they vote on, you know, when the governor signs it, that's when it's really
yeah,
official.
yeah.
So, and I really need to touch base with Ashley to know. And I also share with y'all that we're looking at a bill grant that we're gonna apply for. So, I mean, I get it. It's about what you do. You know, I don't think there's any guaranteed way. But I shared a few groups with y'all in the email. Just, again, this is just a little Google search. And in fact, I put this in chat. You know, what kind of firms look for industry expansion for municipalities? You know, Research FDI. I think that's a Canada-based company, but they do work all over the world, including North America. And these companies are different types. Again, there's no company I have in mind because I don't know them. But my whole thought is we could do the targeted industry analysis, which I think is a good start. The Natchitoches Next Master Plan was something that gives us some direction too. But we need our names to be mentioned in rooms that we're not invited to and that we don't know about. And that's really what this is about. I need a company that's talking to, whether it's a power company, whether it's some type of, what else was in the target industry analysis? You had food processing, some type of, we know Pilgrims does it, maybe it could be cattle or something. I'm not in those rooms.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all are in those rooms. I don't even think Nita's in those rooms. But we need somebody who knows, who can mention us and say, you know what you're looking to do, Natchitoches is a great place to do it. And that's all we're really trying to do. We gotta step this up a bit than what we've been doing. And this is one way, it's not the only way. We may swing and strike out, but I don't want to be caught not swinging. This city is too special. It's too important. It means so much to me. It's why I'm raising my family. The culture is here. The food is here. We've got to bring jobs back here.
We need them, Mayor. We definitely
So
do.
that's all I'm trying to do. No hidden motive, not trying to kill Nita. I just care about growing this place.
Well, I think we did well with our targeted industry study, and that's a collective, that's parish, city, everybody involved. And what we got back from it is from the state, NLEP, LED, CSRS, they're all saying the same thing. It's all about certified sites. And that includes water, sewer, power, gas, broadband, ingress, egress that you got to have at each site. My question is, where are we at on each of our sites? And if that's the buzzword and that's what these corporations are looking for, we need to study where we need to be on that. And part of that needs to go to that. Back to being in the right room, Louisiana Economic Development has an open door to participate in various industry conferences that we're not participating in. It would help for Shauna to be involved.
I don't know, what do you mean? Tell me about that. What are you talking about?
Louisiana Economic Development has different industry-specific conferences that they go to that we're not participating in. So that's something else that we should be looking at, whether we do a consultant or not. And I'm just not convinced that that's our first move. I think we need to look within and try and comply within the structure we're in and try and comply with what the state has defined for us to do. Because I like the direction. I've been in and out of several administrations over my tenure, and I like the direction it's going in again. I think we're going to get some hits, and I think we're in a good position. We've got several sites that we've had for years. Some are good ones, some are not so good. But now we have a targeted list of who to go after. But can it be done through NEDA, or do we need to go off on our own? And I kind of,
I don't think this is going around or outside of NEDA. The way I kind of look at it is with Merchant McIntyre, and we know everybody didn't agree with that move to go with Merchant McIntyre because it was $7,500 a month, and I get that price tag. But I think everybody can agree they have over-delivered.
They have.
Over-delivered.
You've done great.
They're charging now $15,000 a month. Well, that's a pretty big institution. We're still down at the 75 from, what was it, I think 5 years ago, $7,500 a month. So we're getting a sweet deal. And what I try to do, any city I meet, I try to introduce them to them. I think they kind of give us a little credit for that. Yeah. So, Dale, you're normally at the NEDA breakfasts. I don't know if you were at this one, but the last NEDA breakfast, Laura actually got in contact and got CSRS, who did the targeted industry analysis for us, got them to come. And the guy I spoke with once, Taylor Gravios or something like that. He said something. He said, look, your sites don't have to be 100% ready. You just have to show these industries that you have a plan, that there's buy-in from state, local. I think with the appetite in Baton Rouge right now, how quickly can we get something done infrastructure-wise? Because if you get a big expansion project, again, I understand this is a very tall order, but I think for the viability of Natchitoches, we got to swing for it. I mean, we've got a major community here. We may not be the biggest in terms of numbers, but there's a lot of positive thoughts about Natchitoches, whether y'all know it or not, outside of the city.
Yes.
I'm not saying we're perfect. We've got our challenges, but I'm at a conference filled with hundreds of local administrators, mayors, and you get the lieutenant governor saying, hey, you can go to Natchitoches and do this. It's a great place to go. I mean, you just don't know the feeling. Yeah, it feels great. So, but what Taylor Gravial said, to get back to what I was saying, he said, look, you don't have to have your sites 100%. If you can show a plan, if there's buy-in, we've shown that we can get grants pretty quickly. The project they may announce it's coming, but it won't be done next week. So as the project is being built, do we think we have the political power and will and favor to get the funding to make the improvements we need to make as the project is being built? Because, I mean, you understand the project is not, it's going to take more than a year to build something, right? So it's kind of the mindset. Or otherwise, you say to the community, let's invest $10 million in a site for what may not ever be something. And I just don't know if the community has that appetite either. I take the approach is, let's see if we can get a fish on the hook through a firm that has more contacts than we have, more name recognition than we've got. They can put us on the map, mention our names in these rooms, whether they're in New York, whether they're in some headquartered city somewhere, Or again, the other approach is improve the sites. You may say 7, 10 million, and nothing may ever materialize. So I think we all want the same thing, you know? It's just about what approach we take. Look, we know Natchitoches Community Alliance was the first, and then you got NETA. Sometimes you do have to reach outside of your local, and so that you can partner with, just like we did with Merchant McIntyre. Hey, just like we're doing with P-Car Group and Ashley Tassin. We wouldn't be building that fire station right now without the work she's done. Because look, Natchitoches has been split up. We don't have a representative from Natchitoches represent Natchitoches. We don't. We've got Senator based out of Shreveport, Senator based out of Alexandria. Furman is where he is, and let's be honest, I mean, they're not looking as priority. So we hired Ashley, and even with us being split up, I mean, you're about to do a $2 million project on 2-Line Street. You know, that's a big deal. I mean, it ain't me. We got somebody outside of Natchitoches bringing us up in a room where we are not, helping to get things that we need back here. So really, it's the same play that we're running. We're just doing it on economic development. It's been successful for us with Merchant McIntyre. Extremely successful, more successful than I thought it would be, I'll be honest. When you look at them, I think we're almost 30 million in awards just with what they've done and written for us. You look at Ashley, you look at the 1.8 for the fire station, which has been a dream of the city for years. You look at the 2 million for 2-Line. There's some other things that we've been able to get, and hopefully we can get the big 6 million or 7 million. We'll see, depends on how the state budget's going. So that's all we're doing. We're playing that playbook and just trying to improve Natchitoches, just trying to bring those quality jobs. Because as much people may love to eat a meat pie and come to us for Christmas time and visit Northwestern and say all kind of great things, if we're not having people rooted in our parish, it doesn't even have to be in the city. But if they're rooted in the parish somewhere, that's good. That's great for us. It's building sustainability for Natchitoches.
Yeah, and I guess my main concern with it was I didn't want us to be like an island. I wanted us to be, what was it y'all did for one Natchitoches? Didn't y'all do that, Dale, with the parish?
Yeah.
And everyone get on board with the exact same thing. So I didn't want us to have our own consultant. We have them, we're talking to them, and you know, they're not working with NETA, da-da-da. So, I mean, you cleared that up. They would be working directly with NETA, meeting with NETA.
Yeah.
And is there a way, now Mr. Wayne's not here, I can't call him out, has anyone spoken
I
to the
think they
parish?
should jump on board. I think, I'll say it, I think the
We can all
sheriff,
work together.
I think the sheriff should jump on board. I think anybody that lost money when IP left should contribute something, in my opinion, to this effort.
Because like you said, they may find something and it's gonna go out in the parish. The city
Yeah, the
benefits from
city
it
is
too.
the parish is the
Yes,
city.
exactly.
You know, we work
It's like
together.
We're one.
It's
We
one.
are one. If the parish benefits, the city benefits, and vice versa. So,
My only thing about that, the time, I feel like we're in an urgent time. When you consider what's lost at IP, when you, what just happened at Alliance, all right, with the, I don't know, 80 or 90 jobs cut. I think maybe future budget years, but everybody's kind of on a different, our budget years now in June. I see where it makes sense, where if school board 10 or 15,000 to the effort, it reduces what we have to do. I see where all the others, but I don't think kicking the can down the road another year is advantageous. I believe we got to get somebody going and moving, and maybe we could talk about the next budget year, splitting it up. We're talking with Merchant McIntyre. I mean, Shauna's on those calls. We're talking now. When I brought it to them, they're talking about a grant application, and we'll do that. But the grant application, I don't know, did we say DRA we're looking at, Delta Regional Authority? So we're looking, it's just a thing of you can get it or not get it. You know what I'm saying? You may get it, you may not get it. Now, they're gonna put us in the best position to get it, but they can't make the decider say, we're gonna fund Natchitoches. And I don't know that we have that much time with the contraction that's going on, with what's out there, I want our names to be mentioned, like P-Card Group is doing, like Merchant McIntyre is doing for us in DC. And so that's really the path we're trying to, again, don't think we're gonna use 227, but I asked Clarissa to find a number. I told her, look, Google says 100 to 400,000, and she kind of landed in the middle somewhere with it. So, like I said, I don't think we'll use all of that, but we did need a number to put in place because of, we can't do the RFP until we have the money approved.
And I know
Right.
things have gone up, and like I said, we're paying McIntyre $7,500, and it's $227,000 compared to the $7,500 is a lot to me. If we're looking at doing basically the same thing, work with NETA to try to get businesses in here, industries in here, more jobs, and that type of thing for people. I just would hope we could maybe be in midway in that amount for the budget.
It really comes down to trust. Either you trust me to say, that's really what we're talking about. Either you trust me to say, hey, we're not gonna spend 227, or you don't, you know? And I think that's where we are with it.
We have to, am I?
And I said, look, I want y'all to be involved in this process as well. I'm not trying to do this by myself from the mayor's office.
Am I wrong? Wouldn't we have to approve their hiring anyways?
Well, if you approve the budget, consultant fees pretty much, you know, at the discretion of the mayor. But,
'Cause remember, we had to
and
approve,
Ed, you could help me out with this, right?
You have to go out to.
we had to approve Merchant McIntyre, I remember.
Say that again, Mayor? It would have to go to an
If we-
RFP.
Well,
Wouldn't it?
well, you approve it at being that it's in the budget. If it go to RFP, I will include you on it, but does it have to go back to council? Because it would be consulting fees.
Yeah, RFPs don't go to council unless the grant needs for it to go to council. It's professional service.
Why did Merchant McIntyre come before us?
Because it wasn't in the budget at the time.
We had to amend the budget to do it.
Yeah, it wasn't in the budget. At the time we got them, I think it was April of 2021, so we're at the end of that budget year. So if it's budgeted, and I think there's maybe different kind of thoughts on that, but I kind of took the thought, if it's budgeted, you've already approved it. You've already approved it if it's budgeted. You see what I'm saying?
Okay?
So, but if we wanted to come back, or we could do it, because we can't do, on a committee, we can't do more than two, right? So we could do two and then let the other two, I mean, that's some kind of way everybody can get their input on it. Still.
Yeah, because I understand, and I had the same concerns as Ms. Betty, it's just, it is a lot of money, 270, what is it?
227.
227,000 for,
That's correct.
for a consultant of any kind. It's-
Well, and again, what we put in place for this effort as a placeholder. I'm trying to stress that.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
As a placeholder. 'cause
You're
we had
hoping
to
it's
put-
not, you're hoping it's 90,000.
That's right, that's right.
I understand.
But this is as a placeholder, because we don't know, because of the range Google said, and I know y'all saying, why are you looking at Google? But,
It's like trying to balance a checkbook
You
for,
come back to us if you need more.
good thought.
I think that, I haven't shown myself to be, I think you ought to trust me.
It's just a lot of money.
I mean, Baker, it could be requested that y'all bring it back to council to vote
Yeah.
on it, just to,
How you do that,
Yeah.
Ed? What you mean? What that look like?
We just say it when we approve the
when you
budget.
approve it, yeah, you could put
To
that.
bring that back? Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That one item,
No
bring it back.
problem. No problem with doing it. Yeah, I just, and look, this is not forever. If after a certain period, we feel like we're not getting, you know, there's some things you can get. It may not be an expansion, but there's some things you feel you're getting. I just don't know everything it could be. Maybe they're giving us more precise wisdom on how we should improve our sites. Maybe it's, who knows what this could end up to. I mean, again, when we got Merchant McIntyre, I didn't think they would give us 30 million in this amount of time.
Well, to come up with this amount, is there a particular firm in
Nope.
mind or anything like that?
Nope, not at all.
To just come up with that amount, no?
Yeah. Oh, again, that's from the Google search. The Google search, 100,000 to 400,000. So we landed about in the middle of that.
I'm old, I don't trust AI.
I use a little Google too. Google, but AI, yeah, I did use AI.
I just look at where, all I have to base it off of is what we're spending with Merchant McIntyre. What's that?
Merchant
That's
McIntyre.
That's 90,000.
That's 90,000
We had a reference point with them.
at the hospital. That's true.
And we could, kind of
Yeah,
had our toes in the water,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah.
This one, it just, we're having to go out with people that are very unknown.
yep.
They're not, you can't put a tag on them. Nobody knows who they are.
And to that point, I was saying also to Councilwoman at-large Smith, Smith Kirkendall, I'll say this, don't have a company in mind, but what I shared with Eddie when I saw him at the park the other day is that CSRS did, when I brought it to them, they did think it was a good idea. Because in the word that Taylor Gravia said, you all are trying to be proactive if you do that. You're trying to be proactive. Now, they are a firm that could do that, so how do you take that advice? They could do this work, In fact, I'll say this, Mark sent me, and I showed Eddie.
Oh, so they can make a bid on, is what you're saying?
They
I
can
got
make a bid. We've done work with them before. Actually, Mark sent me a company that's looking to expand. And I don't get that information. I don't know if anybody in Natchitoches gets that information. And probably they subscribe to something to get it. But it would be a great company. It would be a company I see has long-term viability. He just said, hey, this company looking to expand. Natchitoches could be in the,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So Marcus with CSRS, they do that type of work as well. But I do still want to do an RFP process because you might be able to get somebody better.
And CSRS is out of Baton Rouge. isn't it?
Baton Rouge.
Yeah, all right.
So far, they've done a targeted industry analysis. I thought it was a really good document. Nothing to compare it to except that I feel it gives us some guidance as to what industries we could actually go after and be successful here. They've done a couple other things for us as well.
So obviously they'd be good because they're familiar with our community, but it's the bid process.
And I don't think that'd be on the high end either. Yeah.
Mayor, let me ask this. So, Ed, you had mentioned something, so in my mind, I'm thinking, Mayor, if we meet you halfway, and if it's a possibility that you need more, then that could come before us to vote to approve the rest?
Yeah, what you saying?
But
You saying keep the 227 if we need more than 227?
Well,
No.
come halfway. So if you're asking the 227, then we could meet you halfway, but if it's a possibility that you need more of that 227, then it comes before us to vote to approve it.
Yeah.
Can I clarify
That's not-
something,
oh.
Council? So every dollar is tied to, every expense is tied to a revenue dollar. So you saying that you can come back, and I just want to make sure everybody's clear. You saying you could come back after and say, oh, he needs another 100,000 per se. That's not to say that 100,000 will be available, because if we reallocate this money to another fund code, then it would be used at that point.
Could you put it
So
back
we
in utilities?
put it back in utilities. It didn't come from utilities.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Where is
Yes,
it
sir.
coming from that it could be put back into? then?
Well, it coming from other expense line items within the budget. So it could go back to capital outlay. It could go back to any other. I mean, it's a host of things. Once we start the budget process, we have one pot of money that we divvy up amongst all the different fund codes and departments. So it's not to say that it couldn't go back to something. Let me correct myself. We could reduce the transfer if we wanted to. But again, what I want to make sure that you're clear on is that we can't just say that we can come back and
To
give
add,
him
you talking about
another.
to add to it?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and
Once
my
we
thought, and I
take
see
it-
what PT is saying, my thought is
Yeah.
that we wouldn't add to it,
No, he was saying that if we agreed upon a lower amount right here, so say for instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman PT, if we agree upon 100,000 right now, we say, okay, we'll put 100,000 in the budget, but it does actually cost us 200, to come back and say you need another 100 is not guaranteed, is what I want to be clear on. And I think that's kind of what your question was, maybe? Yeah, so another 100,000 is not guaranteed. because we probably would have to go and do another transfer into the reserve, because it's not guaranteed that that funding will be available.
How'd we do that with Merchant McIntyre then? I don't recall where'd that money come from?
A budget, you did a budget, you
Yeah.
just did a budget amendment for that.
So that'd be the same thing he's asking.
But you
Not
have,
right
you
now.
still
Oh, you
have,
talking about, he's actually.
you still have to find a revenue source is what I want to make sure we're clear on.
Yeah.
So anytime we add to the budget, in addition to what we approve, we have to go back and find the revenue source. So just want to make sure we are clear on that.
And Ed, is that what you were referring to, more or less?
I think Ed is just saying,
No,
bring
Eddie is saying-
bring it back to the council if that's what y'all want.
I said, yeah, even if it, regardless of the amount, if that's what y'all want or request, then what's the harm? Bring it back and approve it.
That way we don't
Right.
have to have meetings with 2 by 2 and.
That's right, you can do it all together as a group.
Right.
Could the line item be changed to just economic development improvements? Or does it have to be for consulting?
That way, if it's
The-
less, it's already in there then the rest of it can automatically be used for.
If you want to do it on sites or something else in economic development.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
That way, if it comes back 100,000, then you have 120-something thousand you can spend just,
On a sewer pipe?
I mean, if
or-
it's
Yep.
I don't want to say it would be a misrepresentation, but,
So you're looking at just as strictly
You gotta be careful with
consultants?
my words. You don't want to put money somewhere that's not the intention of it. But if you want to, say, come back to the council to approve it based on the RFPs that we receive, I think that's a good plan,
and then.
honestly.
And then if there
And
is,
then-
I'm making up numbers again, let's say it comes back $100,000.
Uh-huh.
And then we have 127,000 left, then at that time, we can then, at the meeting, allocate those funds to.
Exactly. If there's some other shortfall or whatever, we could do budget amendments as we normally do.
We can do it right then at
Yes,
the same
sir.
time.
Yes, sir. Because I want everybody to know that the budget is built on projected funds, right? Not guaranteed funds. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. So as long as the revenue comes in at the projected level, we're fine. We can make all those adjustments when the time comes, but we still have to assess where we are at that particular time.
Right. Yeah, well, you alleviated my issue of not, of being, I didn't want, say, for instance, NEDA's doing something separate. Now, we have a consultant doing something separate, and they're confusing any one industry looking to come to Natchitoches because they're talking to 2 different groups of people, and that might spook some industry out there to get them, like, they don't have their stuff together and they go somewhere else. I didn't want that to happen. I was concerned with that. So if they're working with NEDA, they're going to be communicating with each other, then that alleviated that issue with me.
And look, and I can't say for sure I know which cities are taking this step. I'll say that. But I also know that when it comes to like a Merchant McIntyre or a P-Card group with Ashley, I know not every city are using lobbyists either. But we've gotten a return. We've talked about the return that we've gotten on the investment from those two entities. So again, I just wanted to say that just because a lot of people are not doing it doesn't mean we shouldn't. I guess is what the point I'm trying to make with that.
I would be interested if, when the time comes in hiring someone, if they can discuss who else are they representing. Because if they're representing people right down the road and they're trying to work for them too and us, then who are they? Are they really benefiting us or what's, there's a
And
bunch of conflict
RFPs
there.
And RFPs take that into, that's something that we can just request through the RFP.
Okay.
Is references, their history, their successes is one thing we usually ask for. So we can ask anything when we put out that notification of wanting to hire a firm. That's all the things that we can request and compare.
And I have another, I don't know, y'all finished? I'm sorry.
I am, yeah.
Also, I have another concern about the budget for, and a lot of people have an issue with, as they say, the dog group. But fauna, there's an allocation, I think you told me $2,500? $2,500. Now, we have allocated $7,500. I know someone asked for 10, but Is it any way we can give them back the same 7,500 we've given them before? Can that be amended in the budget?
It will have to be amended at a later date. Right now, we expensed
Not
all,
annual.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, right now, we've expensed all incoming dollars that have been projected for the next fiscal year, and we did set them at 2,500. And around that discussion, not that that particular organization didn't deserve the 7,500, but based on what their operations are now, the things that they're doing with the new facility, what we are doing with our animal control department as well, that's where we set on that number. But in regards to increasing that, it would have to be done at a later date.
How much later?
Well, honestly, I like to go halfway through the year. Anytime anybody asks me that, I like to go 6 months into my fiscal year to see where we are as far as income and revenue. Because again, what we're doing right now is based on projection. And I just don't want to continue to weigh down the general fund. Not that you may say that's not a lot of money, that's only a $5,000 difference, but if everything we add up that comes across my desk, it's a lot more than $5,000. So we try to go into the fiscal year about halfway to see what adjustments can be made, can additional funds be allocated, and that way we have a better glimpse. I could say, yeah, we're gonna have a great year, but who knows what could happen. So I just try to play it, better safe than sorry there. But those are things that we can look at within the year. It doesn't have to be decided or hold the budget up and be to be decided.
So at the beginning of the new fiscal year, which is June 1, we can start processing that check to them. And as they have these spay neuter clinics, just whenever they get low on the city funds, they could reach out to us and we can consider a budget amendment then.
They've been out
So-
since January, so.
Been out of what?
The vouchers.
The vouchers?
They get some from the parish too?
Yep, get 10,000.
But they,
But
when is their budget?
Those are separate.
When is their budget? They're on a different thing. They might be January 1 to December 31st or
But
something.
they typically give 10 for that every year.
Okay.
So we're,
Yeah, I think the parish did.
and we're steady customers. So it's a good effort and eventually should help reduce the population. So,
And I would say the only difference between the city and the parish is we actually have a
we do.
animal control division. The parish does not. So I know people look at 10 and 25, cities not carrying this weight, but we do have an effort going that the parish doesn't have,
Oh, yeah, and we spend with salaries and all that way more. The parish actually spends 60 a year total.
And I think
So-
we're at about 250,000
Yeah,
is what we spend on our
Yeah.
animal control department.
we have facility, food,
Yes, sir.
pets,
Yes, sir.
payroll,
Yes, sir.
which is our big one.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is.
I get that.
Just a question. Well, let's maybe kind of look at it, like you say, later in the year.
Definitely.
Allocating a little bit more.
Yes.
Even if it's 2,500 more
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
for the animals. They
Well, I
have a
think
love
that's-
for animals.
I understand. I understand. I understand.
And people, I know we need it for the people too, but animals can't help themselves. They have to depend
look like
on
they're making some
humans.
progress on the building too, on Highway 1.
Yeah.
Making some progress. Yeah. Okay. Any other, I know we kind of talked about that consultant line for a minute, but any other comments or questions? All righty, we're technically in our pre-meeting. Do I need to gavel out the,
What about the public?
what's that?
Any
We got some
questions?
ideas.
Question from the public.
Did you receive any papers? You didn't? All right. No? All righty. We still will have our pre-meeting, but this is gaveling out of our hearing, okay? So technically, if somebody still has a question about the budget, they still can ask that. All right? Our budget hearing is now adjourned. We only do it once a year, y'all.